Welcome to the Fitness Professional Online Radio Show, where you get access to fitness industry news, tips, and insights from professionals around the world. Visit us at fitnessprofessionalonline.com. And now your host, Doug Holt.
Hello and welcome to the Fitness Professional Online Radio Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, and I'm happy to be here with you today. Today we have a great interview, and I want to jump right into that to get you right to the meat of the program. So without further ado, we're going to get into a conversation with Acea Theroux. For those of you who don't know Acea is the creator and founder of Plyopower, the athletic-based cardiovascular legs program that focuses on the precision of sports conditioning exercises. He grew up in Massachusetts as your kind of typical three-sport jock, excelling and loving football, basketball, and baseball throughout his adolescent years. Acea earned a baseball scholarship to college, but after 2 years, he decided to concentrate on his studies instead. During a semester off from school, he got a job at a fitness center and was introduced to natural bodybuilding, where he won his first local show. This sparked the start of Acea's journey into health and fitness. He immediately got back into school and headed to the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, where he earned his BS in exercise physiology and health management, and was named the Junior All-Natural USA Bodybuilding Champion in 1997. Since 1996, Acea has continued to educate himself in a variety of specialties and certifications, and he is now an education provider for the likes of NASM, NSCA, ACE, and AFA, and he also loves traveling around the country and presenting the information. Over the years, Acea has worked in just about every aspect of the health and exercise industry, from the front desk to sales, fitness manager, group exercise director, and club owner. In addition, he has hosted a fitness radio show for WEEI and continually produces and educates and directs a weekly health and fitness television show called Fitness and Fiction, which takes a unique look at health, fitness, nutrition, and overall wellness. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into that interview with Acea. Hi, Acea. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you being here.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure.
A lot of questions have come up. Tell us a little bit about your path into the fitness industry and how you got where you are today. Give us a little background.
Sure. I guess quickly, it's your normal athlete turned trainer. You know, I stopped playing sports in college, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I wasn't really sure. Somebody introduced bodybuilding to me. I wasn't really interested because I was like, that's not a sport, and I still want to play. And I ended up getting injured twice trying to go and walk onto football after I stopped playing baseball. And as I did that, I had done all this work to get prepared for double sessions and whatnot at that particular time. So what I did is I was like, I'll do the bodybuilding show. And then when I saw my body change, I just really sparked an interest. I was like, why did that happen? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that kind of brought me into fitness.
Okay, so kind of somewhat typical in the sense that you're an athlete, mm-hmm. right? You mentioned that, and then you got into the bodybuilding, and then now you're helping everybody else kind of achieve their goals.
Yeah.
Sounds like a pretty typical story. How a lot of us get involved in it.
It is. It really is.
Well, you've obviously taken it to the next level. Taking it from not just being a personal trainer or a fitness coach, but of really kind of taking your education and everything else a step. What inspired you to do that and actually not just stay with the status quo?
It's funny because I was never a student. In fact, I was the opposite of a student. I was your typical I guess you considered back in the day, the dumb jock and da-da-da-da and doesn't have a brain. And then I stopped playing sports in college, and I had to use it. When I started studying and I started retaining this stuff and it interested me, I just kind of kept going with it. For me, I think that there was a turning point for myself back in like 2004, and I was about 40 pounds heavier than I am now, and I was having trouble getting leaner, and if I wanted to get leaner, I either had to double my cardio or I had to get really strict with my eating. And I was scratching my head, going, why is that? I've been in fitness for 8 years now, and why is this becoming a struggle for me? Long story short, I met a woman in my class who was a massage therapist, and she said, hey, I want to barter. If I massage, sports stretch with you, will you train me? And, I was like, score.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I was having lower back pain along with not really being where I wanted to be when it comes to fitness in terms of my own personal fitness. So, I went in there, I laid down on the table, and she went to stretch my hamstrings, and she was like, whoa, like I've actually never seen hamstrings this tight before. She's like, what do you do for flexibility? And I was like, well, I stretch, a little bit before and after classes. And she looks at me and she goes, I do your classes. What do you do for flexibility? And so I just kind of laughed, and I was like, all right, apparently nothing. She handed me a business card of this guy, and was a personal trainer. And I kind of looked, and I was like, a little insulted, but I'm in pain, and I'm not where I want to be. So, for me at the time, it was the need was there. There was a sort of desperation there where I was like, I really need to make changes, or this is only going to get worse. So I sat down with this young guy, and, he was fresh out of school, and like a year training, and he started explaining things, and it wasn't that he gave me a movement assessment first. Some overhead squat, push, pull, some core exercises, and he started saying things that it wasn't necessarily I hadn't heard it before, but he said it in a way that was new to me.
Okay.
This is strong, this is weak, this is tight, you got these muscle groups working, these can't work without the help of these. And the more he spoke, I was like, wow, okay, that makes sense. And then I was like, who are you certified through? And he was like, National Academy of Sports Medicine. And I laughed because at the time, myself and another trainer had our own acronym for NASM. We used to call them the Nazi Association of Stretching Maniacs. And it's funny now because I live and breathe it.
Yeah.
I'm certified through them, and I'm a CEU provider for them. So they get a kick out of it when I tell this story with them. And so, long story short, that's one of my lines. I'm kind of long-winded. He gave me probably 3 stretches to do, and some foam rolling and whatnot. But really, the 3 stretches he started me with were very basic, very simple. And my body just started changing like crazy. And it didn't stop until about 4 years ago. I just kept getting leaner and leaner. And my clients would be like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, you won't even believe it if I tell you. I'm stretching. And they're like,
wow.
No. And I'm like, yeah, I'm working out less and I'm stretching. And that was when for myself, I took a huge turn in terms of wanting to start really concentrating on continuing education again. And I became a student again for life.
That's fantastic. So you kind of found your own path along the way.
Absolutely. But I did that humbling experience first.
That's the way it works for all of us, I think. We all do. Yeah. And you sought out a coach, and I think I give you credit for that because I think a lot of personal trainers don't want to train with another trainer.
Right.
Yet you look at any professional athlete always has a coach. Any executive has a coach. There's no exception for our field either. You can always learn from somebody else.
Absolutely.
So good for you. Oh, you took it well beyond that. I think you're being very humble. But you did a lot more. And you even went out and you said you're a CEU provider, but you tell us a little bit about Plyopower and what that's all about.
Well, Plyopower started as it's an athletic-based cardiovascular legs program, and the basis of it is using athletic movements anywhere from, that are basic and dynamic. And it's doing those athletic movements, but there's a fatigue management philosophy ingrained in it. And all that is that, simply it's like the theory in general is training smarter instead of harder. So the way the program is laid out is that, when the movement patterns start to change, when that fatigue starts to set in, we drop back to our mechanical level, to our basic mechanics, and work on the quality of the movements instead of the intensity. And, that goes for the whole program. The way it's laid out, you can individualize group exercise, small or large groups. I think with Plyopower, it started as, more endurance plyometrics. And if I could go back and change the name of the program, I think I would. Only because people associate plyo with plyometrics and jumping.
Yes.
And the funny thing is that, even when I put it on my exam for the written test, I still, to this day, I think I've had about 400 plus people take the exam. It's still under 10 people have gotten the question right.
Really? Interesting.
Whether they read the manual or apparently not, read the manual or not, they get the question wrong. Everybody circles jump. It's a Greek word meaning move. And most people don't associate plyo with move. They associate with jump. So they look at the program and they think it's a jumping program. And really, within the whole program, you might not jump at all.
Can you give us an example? I mean, not the whole program, but for those that are listening that haven't experienced, can you give us a couple of examples?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's simply based as like you start with like a body weight squat. Every leg movement's followed by an agility movement. And, so the first movement would be like a basic bodyweight squat. You perform it for about 45 seconds. Again, this is for the group exercise and small group setting and one way of using it. Then you rest really quick. You go from the leg movement to an agility. And the agility is done with the flat foot so that people with plantar fasciitis and flat feet and even seniors or deconditioned can do agility-type movements by trying to really learn how to engage the upper legs and support their joints. And then you rest quick and we go into a second level. And the second level in itself is always optional. so that the jump in itself, or the body weight squat in itself, would turn into a little bit of a hop, and you focus on deceleration during that hop. And then the agility moves to the balls of the feet, if it's comfortable for the person, so that we can work and stimulate the calves and the shins, and so we don't neglect them at the same time. And then the way the program's laid out, halfway through that particular set, the instructor drops back down, because it's the quality of the movement, it's not their workout, and we want people to feel comfortable staying with that first level, if that's what they feel comfortable with, and not having to keep up with anybody else in the class. And then the third level would be the same thing. You rest quick, and then maybe you go into a form jump, and that's focusing on, loading the body up, utilizing your arms as you go into it, landing the form jump, again, not going for height or speed. And then the agility is performed maybe, there's like 7 or 8 different levels, and the instructor has the opportunity to use whatever they want, towards that second and third level to make it more dynamic. So maybe you move laterally, maybe you do a cross step. But at the same time, once again, the instructor, when they teach it, they drop back down to that mechanical level again, just to make people feel comfortable. In general, that's the way the class is laid out, every class, and there's hundreds of movements and, multi-levels. But then the key to the class is that once the mechanics are understood, I want them starting at higher levels. So they'll come into that bodyweight squat. They see the bodyweight squat. They know they can go right into deceleration. They can go right into a form jump. Maybe we use rotation as well, and maybe a few of the other levels. And they stay there until that form starts to go, and then they drop back down. And that's sort of the philosophy behind it. And when the class is at its true essence, or the program's at its true essence, you kind of walk in, you look, and everybody's doing something different. Mm-hmm. So you give them the ability to individualize group exercise or large groups.
That's fantastic. So it's almost like a conjugated periodization within a group class exercise.
Absolutely.
Program. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, so is this something that you came up with, or a group of you?
Yeah.
So you did this by yourself?
Just me. It's been going, it's been evolving, and I say just me, but I've had so much help over the years. I can't just say, hey, it's all me. I've had a lot of help when it comes to influences like Josie Gardner, who's creator of Zumba Gold. She's been an icon in the fitness industry. She was the ACE Personal Trainer of the Year 2005. Dr. Chris Prue, NSCA, was an editor of my study guide as well. Had a major influence in a lot of the stuff that I was doing. Him as a kinesiology professor as well had a huge influence on it, because when he saw the program, he was the first old school strength coach that I was able to convince the value of slowing down.
Okay.
The value of the mechanics and the value of what the program consisted of. Mm-hmm. So that was like my turning point when Plyopower really started to gain some momentum, and when I got my CEO approval is when I got his approval, to be honest.
Okay. And so take me through that process, because we get a lot of questions coming in from people that have been in the industry for a while, and they're kind of disillusioned. They have some ideas, but they've never really take that conception to reality. What was kind of give me a walk through your journey so they can kind of hear?
To become a provider?
Yeah, not only to become a provider, but you have this idea. Obviously, you saw a hole in the industry, something that you thought you could bring, and from that, the inception of that amazing thought to where you are today, to becoming a provider, a teacher, and someone who's very well known.
Well, it's funny because it came about right after I went through NASM, and they changed my outlook on training in general, and on functional movement and postural disorders, and the need to see and take a little bit harder look at movement patterns, and a little bit harder look at what we do every day, which muscle groups are tight, weak, and then I took a further look, because I'd be in class and I'd be teaching one level and above, and it's kind of like, well, I'm missing a lot of people, and if I'm not missing them, they're training at a higher level than they should be, and they're trying to keep up with people that maybe they shouldn't be. Am I doing more damage than somebody else? And I had the perfect scenario. I had these two ladies, 65 and I think 63 in my class. When I brought in the Plyopower class, this was before the leveling system was even created. And they came over to me and said, hey, I heard this class is pretty intense. You need to give us modifications. Because they used to take step class at the same time. They were pretty set in their ways, and they were very stern that I needed to make modifications, and I thought that was hilarious. They were just kind of telling me, this is what you need to do. And I was like, awesome, I'm definitely going to do it. And I found myself running, and of course they were at opposite ends of the room, too. So I kept running back and forth with every jump or every lunge or whatever I was doing, and I have to on the spot come up with some kind of modification to make sure that they were okay. And then that's kind of where the thought of making a leveling system started to make sense to me, and started to kind of come alive.
Okay. So where'd you take it from there? So now you have it. You have a concept. Obviously, it's like anything. A problem happens, and you're running around from one corner of the studio to the other.
Right.
And I think we've all been there to some degree, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you figured out that, hey, this hasn't happened. But you didn't just say, "Oh, this sucks." You
Right.
said, "Okay, this is a problem," and then you came up with a solution. What was your impetus to actually put this pen to paper? Because I think a lot of people go through that motion, but then as soon as they sit down to actually write up a program, that's where some kind of roadblock hits, it seems, with a lot of people that I talk to.
Yeah, I mean, there was multiple drafts of this study guide and of these theories in general, and I mean, I'd start writing stuff down, and I think when it really took a corner, when I said I really want to do this, I mean, there was a couple influential factors that were worked in there, but I went to some of the professionals that have been in the industry for a while. I went to Jersey Gardner. I went to people like that, and I said, "Hey, can you take a look at this? Do you think there's a value in this?" And she, I gave her like about a 50-page study guide at the time. She got through the introduction, and I think she ran out of ink in her red pen, and was like, "Yeah, why don't you fix this first?" Literally, the first 2 pages. I looked and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh wow, I got some work to do." And she, and she took it home with her after. And she did this right in front of me. She goes, "Let me take this home and finish the rest of it." She took it home and brought it back to me, and she says, "Yeah, you definitely have something here." She's like, she goes, "Don't get frustrated with all these corrections and things like that. That's a legality standpoint of how to convey exercise, prescriptions, and how to convey your message in a better way." She's been doing it forever, So with that, and with her encouragement to not just say, "Yeah, you got a lot of work to do," but to really work with somebody. That gave me kind of a boost. I went down to ECA in Miami, the ECA World Conference, Thrive Conference in Miami at the time in 2001, and that was like, I was on the verge. I was like, do I want to trademark this or not? Do I want to trademark this idea and go the full yards here? And I walked into a power strike. Have you ever heard of power strike?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's that West Indies style of kickboxing. Alaria, who's once again just a pinnacle of fitness in herself, but also just, a genius when it comes to programming. I had worked with her at the Reebok Sports Club for a very brief time, for about a year, right after college. And so I knew the name, and I walked in, I was like, "Oh, I want to go say hi." And I walk in, and there's 400 people in there. And I'm looking around like, wow. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I'm going to stay for this because, I liked her class. I had taken it before. The class was amazing. Awesome. She's on this huge stage, and the whole program is up there. The music is bumping, and I see these 2 people when we finished. You know how you look at somebody and they recognize you, you recognize them.
Absolutely.
So they walk over, and we just spoke briefly. I said, "How do I know you?" They're like, "Oh, you're a trainer at Reebok." And I said, "Yeah, I was." And I'm like, "Are you guys trainers there?" Because we had 70 trainers on staff, so sometimes it's hard to know everybody. Sure. And they're like, "No, we're members." I said, "Wait, you're members in a club in New York, and you're down here in Miami to take a class?" And
unheard of.
I was like, that's the dedication. That's the influence I want to have. That was it. That was it for me. I was like, I'm definitely trademarking this. I wanted to go after it and do it.
Okay. So you took that. So you had the concept, and then you found a mentor, right? Because that's kind of, was that old saying that says, when the student's ready, the teacher will show up?
Yes.
And it sounds like that happened for you.
That was absolutely it.
Okay. And did you ever have any fear, because it's a common thing we also hear, fear sharing your ideas with that someone's going to steal your idea?
Yeah, the first time I submitted it to ACE and NSCA and NASM, and after my first submission, I was like, I went back to that woman, Jersey Gardner, about 6 times. I'm like, "You sure that if I give them, they're not going to make their own program?" She's like, "No, they're not." I was like, "I don't know," because I had spent a couple years. It wasn't just like, a couple months here and here. It was like a couple years.
Yep.
Before I wanted to submit it, that I thought it was even done, and I didn't even get approved.
Yeah.
Apparently I wasn't done yet. So
it's a long journey.
It was a long journey, and I had this conversation with a trainer the other day she has an idea for a bar class, I guess like a couple of them that are out there now, and people keep telling her she should trademark it because it's very unique. So we had about a 30-minute conversation about it, and I just said, don't get discouraged, I said, one of the things I think that helped me the most when I got my approval was I took every manual I'd ever had. I took my suspension training manual. I took a friend's kettlebell manual. I took my NASM manual, my spinning manual, and I laid them all out. And for me, I started highlighting the things that stood out to me on how I learned those things. And then I asked my friends, I said, what was the best part of this manual? What was the best part of this manual? What made you learn this? What made you feel like that you grasped this concept even more? And so they gave me their feedback. And I mean, why reinvent the wheel? I'm going to go back to the things that worked for everybody else, you know?
Absolutely. That's very smart. Yeah. I used to work for a certification company. I won't say their name now, but we dealt with a lot of that, dealing with people that were submitting their proposals or their CEU proposals, and a lot of them looked like they were rough drafts more than somebody that put a lot of forethought into it, and obviously you did.
Yeah, and it still got denied, though, for the first couple times. They're like, yeah, I don't think so. I was like, okay. Anything I can specifically work on? And so they gave me good feedback. Ace was one of the ones that gave me the most feedback in the beginning, so that was very helpful.
Yeah, that's good. Well, thank you to Ace
for
getting you out there. Now, people listening, I want to talk a little bit more about that and what you're up to, but just real quick, a quick plug for you. Where can people that are interested, they're already roped in, they want to find out more information, where can they go right now to find more information about the course if they're looking for CEUs?
They can go to plyopower.com.
Okay. Is that the best place for them?
Yeah, they can find it on there. We do workshops. I have a workshop coming up beginning of November, but I have a home study version of it, so people can get trained in it whenever they want.
Fantastic. So for all of those you listening right now, it's coming up to the end of the year, and we all know what that turns into. It's crunch time. CEUs and CECs are going to be due. Well, now you have your own business. You go from self-proclaimed jock that doesn't study in school to a guy that's written a manual, trademarked it, presents all over the place now, and running your own business. What are some of the other hiccups or roadblocks that you hit and have been able to push through? So some of the other people that are listening that kind of maybe feel a little bit down or have tried that can relate to it.
You know what? To be honest, I think I still hit it. Is that why Plyopower hasn't really taken off to the point where it's nationally known, like something like Power Strike. I mean, it's getting up there. Slowly but surely, it's getting up there. But one of the things I've had a few investors, and they've wanted to invest, and, we've gotten to a certain point, and each one of them wants me to get rid of my testing protocol. They want it to be, hey, you come to a training or a workshop, and by the time the 8 hours or 6 or 8 hours is over, you're a licensed Plyopower instructor. And for me, there's too much room for error.
Yeah.
There's too much, I'm taking athletic movements, we're doing them in a different style, in an endurance manner, and in a manner where we're working on body mechanics. We lower the rest periods to make sure we keep our heart rate up a little bit more. And if people don't follow that particular protocol, they're going to get hurt. And I don't want my name on that. So I would rather have the 16 instructors that I have now that have taken the time to take, because the physical and the written tests aren't hard. All you got to do is study the manual and know the concept. The people that are what I call X Factor athletes, those are my instructors, they're not the pinnacle of fitness. They're not in the best shape out of anybody out there. They're teachable.
Sure.
That's the one characteristic they all have, is that they all say, okay, I can see value in this system. I know that there's, maybe they're the only ones that read the manual. I don't know. But they're really, if it's not followed, it's just sport-specific training with a cool name attached to it, but done, if you don't do it that way. I mean, the reason that their protocol's there is because I was headed towards injuries at certain times. I had to change these certain movements to do them in a way, and with this fatigue management philosophy, because if you didn't, shin splints started, knee pain started, all of these things would pop up, and I'm like, well, this is popping up because of this, this, and this, so I got to do something about that.
Absolutely. Well, you came from injury, and you tried a different method, and that's what brought you, sounds like, full circle.
I mean, that was it. That was how Plyopower started. I pulled my hamstring twice, and I decided to go to bodybuilding route, but with that happening, I said, I really want to still feel athletic at all times. And I don't really think it's necessary to do full-out plyometrics. I can't do that for the rest of my life. There's a lot of value in plyometrics for young kids and for athletes in general. But once you're done playing sports, you train to that capacity on a consistent basis, you're going to get hurt.
Absolutely.
I like my job too much. In a selfish way at first.
Yeah, well, you probably like your body too, and being healthy is always a nice thing. You see it. We see it. Obviously, our industry has a big growth in group exercise environments that throw people in and group them all into one lump sum.
Yeah.
And say, okay, hey, welcome to our new class. Bill's been here for 3 years. This is your first day. Good luck.
Yeah, keep up.
Yeah. keep up and we'll keep yelling and motivating you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work, and they get injured, and they come back, and they get injured, and eventually fall into sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah.
And we see it a lot. In fact, we get quite a bit of our business due to that, people getting injured. So that's great that you've come up with a methodology that's out there. And I don't think a lot of people are aware that that's available to them.
No. And I still think it's a growing theory. I mean, I see it a lot now. I see the training smarter. You see it, or smarter training, and whatever way people are going to present it, you see people starting to understand. And I think it is because of, the higher amount of injuries that are out there.
Absolutely. So for you yourself, for your own business and your own training, what have been some take-home points that have worked for you for marketing yourself as a fitness professional? What have you done that's really worked? And give me maybe one or two things you've done that thought was going to work and just kind of maybe fell flat in their face.
Well, I would definitely say that, there's a lot of programs out there that have had a major influence, at least on my training and on Plyopower in general. And spinning was one. I really enjoyed it. And when I was lucky enough to go down to the WSSC too and be able to take, master class with Josh Taylor, who I like to call the Michael Jordan of spinning. Just an amazing instructor, and how he motivates people. You take these gems, whether how small or big, how much you learn from these seminars. But I mean, conferences are one of the best ways of finding your niche, finding what you want to do, who you want to work with, what style of training is to you, And so, I mean, I know the spinning conference was a major influence. The ECA conferences are fantastic. I mean, what I liked about the ECA conference too. It wasn't just the classes, but it was the camaraderie around you. It was all the other trainers that are there for the same reason, to kind of find out how to define themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely.
So NASM obviously, or ASM, had a major influence on how I train and myself. TRX has just been unbelievable. That's another whole ball game in itself. That company in general is constantly evolving. They love to hear ideas on how to get better and how to make their system better too. They're okay with changing things here and there, and it's like, wow, they're a very humble company and a great company to work for. So they've had a huge influence on myself. I put Plyopower on the back burner because I wanted to become one of their course instructors.
Yep. We have a lot of our friends over at TRX listen to the show, so
good.
They'll be hearing you now.
Good. I mean, it's just like, they have a video contest a couple times a year, and you submit a video and you show them how you use certain parts of TRX, whether it's suspension training or rip training or other exercise modalities, and they want to see how you mesh them together. And so I taped a full day of myself using and my clients. And teaching small groups and large groups and one-on-one using them. And I actually won the video contest, and they paid for me to go down and get certified in the Combine 360, which is now called Ignition.
Yep.
What another amazing program on how to train, test, and challenge your athletes, in any sport, and how it's different for volleyball, how it's different for volleyball and tennis and golf and football, and how there's a small adjustment to the testing protocol that can show you how to improve an athlete's movement pattern, their speed, and their strength.
That's it for us here at Fitness Professional Online Radio Show. Go ahead and log on to Facebook and join us on our Facebook business page. We'll be posting our regular updates, and we're actually moving our forum over there. So our online forum will actually go private, and it will go on to private Facebook groups, including our business page. Go ahead and go on over there and check things out. Have a healthy week, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Fitness Professional Online Radio Show. You can share your thoughts and join the discussion on this episode by going to our website or on facebook.com/fitproonline. Let us know what you'd like to hear on future shows. And please feel free to contact us via email or give us a call at 805-500-6893. We look forward to hearing from you.